The bald eagle is the bird of the good old US of A, constantly used as a symbol of freedom and the American dream. And although the bald eagle is typically depicted as George Washington's trustworthy companion, there was actually a far larger eagle that was named after our first president. But seemingly out of nowhere, these birds had vanished from the Great Lakes that they called home. Welcome to Cryptid Corner, the series all things cryptids, and today we are going to look into Washington's eagle. Washington's eagle, also known as the bird of Washington, the great sea eagle, or its scientific name, Falco washingtoni, was a gargantuan eagle said to call the northern regions along the eastern Mississippi and the Great Lakes home. The eagle was discovered by French-American painter, naturalist, and ornithologist John James Audubon when he sought out a mission to document and paint every bird in the United States for his book, The Birds of America. This project includes 435 illustrations of birds found across the American wilderness, including now extinct birds such as the passenger pigeon and the great auk, all painted by Audubon and his assistant Joseph Mason. The book would give many a look into birds of the country in remarkable detail in identifying 25 species of birds along the way, but among its pages are some birds that remain a mystery, with Washington's eagle being the most well-known of them. Audubon's first encounter with the bird of Washington would be in the early 1820s while traveling up the Mississippi with a Canadian fur trapper. The trapper had claimed that outdoorsmen had spotted these birds near the Great Lakes, scavenging the scraps from hunters and diving into lakes and snatching fish with their beaks. Which sounds kind of small, but this behavior is not common in bald or golden eagles, as they prefer to grab the fish with their talons. Years later, Audubon would encounter this bird again, this time in Kentucky. But this time, he would do what he did with many of the birds in this project and shoot the beautiful eagle for taxidermy and study. At first, the possibility of these eagles being juvenile bald eagles crossed his head, but upon examining the bird, he would have no doubt that this was something new. The eagle was all brown and stood 3 foot 7 inches tall with a wingspan of 10 foot 2 inches. Far larger than the bald and golden eagles, who tend to stand about 2.5 feet high, with wingspans between 6 and 8 feet across, and even larger than the California condor, who possesses a height of 3.5 inches and a wingspan of 9.5 feet, making it the largest bird in the US. Impressed with the size of the mighty eagle, Audubon decided to name the bird after George Washington, honoring the nation's greatest man with the nation's greatest bird. Given Audubon's reputation and the book's success, Washington's eagle would initially be accepted as a legitimate bird, but as time passed, and seemingly nobody else could find these birds since 1826, many of Audubon's peers would decide to remove its status as a legitimate bird. And to this day, Washington's eagle remains an American mystery, seemingly a bald spot in our bird knowledge. So how could a bird so large go so missing? There are a couple explanations, mainly 3 of them, and they get pretty interesting. As stated before, Washington's eagle does look a lot like a juvenile bald eagle, as they kind of look like a completely different bird for the first 2 years of their life. And at the same time, the bird also bears a resemblance to the golden eagle, which, like the bald eagle, has overlap with the alleged territories of Washington's eagle. Despite this, there are noticeable differences between the other eagles and Washington's, such as the beak coloration, the pattern of the bird's legs, and the tail feathers not being a match at all. Not to mention the size difference, although many do believe these measurements to be poorly done or exaggerated, but more on that later. I mean, after all, Audubon is one of the most influential ornithologists in US history. Additionally, bald eagles were far more common back then, and Audubon would be more than familiar with juvenile eagles as well as golden eagles, with whole illustrations dedicated to juvenile eagles along with one for golden eagles in this book. Remember, the whole point of this book was to document every bird in America, and these illustrations both lack the differences depicted in Washington's eagle. Due to this and the other differences, many believe that Washington's eagle was a real species of bird that was on its way out around the time it was discovered, with Audubon coming across the last of these eagles and tragically shooting one of the last of them. Perhaps it could have also been a large eagle or even a subspecies of known eagle or falcon. A reminder that this was placed in falcon family, not the eagle family, which I saw this questioned once. Kind of thought it myself. I didn't really think about it, but I saw it there and I was like, okay, yeah, I was thinking that. But it is possible that they got outcompeted by other eagles. The bald eagles and the gold eagles eventually kind of bullied them out of their food. But outside of the idea that the eagle was real or a missighting, some think that Washington's eagle was a hoax and a pretty shady use of plagiarism in the process. You see, Audubon had shot many birds during his voyage in order to better examine them and to pose them for his paintings. Yet the taxidermized remains of the seemingly one-of-a-kind eagle are just kinda gone. They're nowhere to be found, not even a feather. Additionally, this bird was the first new species that he had ever described, and was the first plate to be engraved of this set by Robert Havell Jr. As an ornithologist who struggled to get proper funding and is undertaking the Herculean effort of describing and illustrating every bird in the country, he had all the reason in the world to make up the eagle in order to secure funding and to add to his legacy. But him being hyper racist even in this time kind of sullied that legacy. We'll get back into that in a little bit. It's not nice. And what makes the situation even worse is that many believe the illustrations was sketched from Sydenham Edwards' 1802 illustration of a golden eagle from Rees's Cyclopedia for the body, and a separate piece depicting the falcon's talons, which can also be found in the 1806 to 1820 editions of Rees's Cyclopedia. He didn't just copy one painting or illustration, he copied two of them from what could have been the same book. And I mean, these are really blatant. This information in this image can be found in a paper that I will post in the description, and it goes even further into detail. And there are anatomical inconsistencies that Audubon copied from these illustrations. And you want to know why those inconsistencies are in the illustrations? Because they were drawn without a reference. So Audubon copied this stuff instead of putting an anatomically correct model of the bird, which he allegedly had right in front of him the whole time. Many, even during Audubon's time, were critical of the illustration, believing it to be a hoax. So this isn't entirely a new allegation, and for a very long time, the bird has not been recognized as a real animal. The case of the bird of Washington is one that kicks up a lot of controversy, but I guess that is kind of fitting given how controversial John James Audubon is. On one hand, he made significant contributions to the field of ornithology and naturalism, to the point that there are major organizations dedicated to nature named after him. But he also contributed to the evil field of scientific racism and funded his research off of slave trading. Yeah, that's how he got a lot of his funds. And most likely fraud and plagiarism as well. So he's also a piece of shit. So ultimately, it is quite uncertain if Washington's eagle was real or not, although I would probably lean towards it not being real given the sole illustration of the animal just seems to be a sketch of a golden eagle with a falcon's foot. So, unless we find this bird chilling in the Great Lakes, the only bird that reps Washington is the bald eagle. Also, I just learned while making this video that the bald eagle wasn't officially the national bird until Christmas Eve of 2024. Like, yeah, we used bald eagle since 1782 on the Great Seal, and it was basically like the logo of America. Everyone recognized it as the bird of America, but It wasn't officially designated as the national bird of the United States of America until the end of last year, which is so strange. Like, it's when you think about it, it's only been less than 6 months that the bald eagle was the official bird of the United States. That's so weird. And I would have never knew that unless I did the research for this pretty pretty obscure cryptid. That is really cool to find. The more you know. And that's going to do it for Washington's eagle. This was a very strange cryptid that I've never heard of. And the second I kind of got like the summary of it, I just had to look into it further. Like, I basically saw like a single article on this thing, and I didn't know anything about the controversy. I didn't know that it was like made up by a slave trader to peddle his side hustle, basically. That's kind of wild, but I hope that many people who would not have known about the story learned about it here on Cryptic Corners. That's what it is all about. This was just so weird. It's like, it feels like this bird could be out there, but it's like the guy definitely faked it. But I don't know. No, not definitely. There is a chance, but highly unlikely. But what do you guys think about it? Do you think that there's a giant eagle flying out there? Do you think it like plays into the Thunderbird myth or something? Make sure to let me down in the comments below. I always love reading the comments. The comments are undefeated. The jokes are undefeated. Always a good time reading the comments. And I want to know what you thought about it. And what other cryptids do you think that I should cover? I know this is kind of the second hoax that I've covered in a while, and that wasn't intentional. I think, yeah, I got an idea. I might do a plausible cryptid next. I know y'all like the plausible cryptids. I know y'all like the out-of-place cryptids. So I think this next one might be perfect for y'all. But what do you suggest that I do next? I always love seeing what y'all got to say. Y'all always, once in a while, always just get one that's just like, the what? But if you like this content, make sure to like the video. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell to stay notified. And if you really, really, really like that content, make sure to become a member. For the price of $3, you get these videos early. And I'm going to try to get these videos out even earlier. I kind of want to get ahead of the curve a little bit, get ahead of schedule so I could start looking at some even bigger things, even larger plans. You know, some longer videos, longer form videos, maybe videos looking at whole sections of cryptids. But I'm not going to keep you any longer. So I just want to say thank you for watching again and have a very nice day.